The landscape of Xylem 7 was a predator's dream and a hunter's nightmare. The air was thick with mist, laced with the scent of damp vegetation and the faint metallic tang of alien spores. Craggy cliffs loomed overhead, their jagged peaks glowing faintly in the light of Xylem 7's twin moons. Beneath the cliffs sprawled an endless expanse of dense, twisted underbrush, where every leaf seemed poised to slice or sting. Captain Ren Terval scanned the horizon through his infrared visor. The rocky terrain radiated residual heat, but there was a faint, flickering signature. A Voraxian skull beast, if the legends held true, could blend so completely with its surroundings that even advanced optics struggled to detect it. Ren's hand tightened around his plasma rifle. The custom-built weapon, engraved with trophies from past hunts, was his trusted partner. His lips curved into a slight smirk. "Not tonight, beast. I've got you." He crouched lower, his camouflage suit rippling to match the rocky surface. His every movement was calculated, soundless. In the distance, the sculpt beast's faint heat signature shifted a flicker of motion that confirmed its presence. Ren didn't rush. Patience was the mark of a true hunter. Then, a sound cut through the silence, a low, guttural growl, reverberating through the canyons. Ren froze. The sound wasn't from the beast he was tracking. He reached for his wrist console, activating a localized scan. It confirmed his suspicion. There were two heat signatures. The second one, larger and more humanoid, was closing in fast. "Damn," Ren muttered under his breath. The wilderness of Xylem 7 was dangerous enough without another hunter encroaching on his kill. He shifted his position, angling his rifle to cover both targets. As he waited, the temperature around him seemed to drop. The mist thickened, obscuring his vision. His visor scrambled to compensate, but even its advanced algorithms faltered. And then, she appeared. The mist parted like a curtain, revealing a figure unlike anything Ren had ever seen. Tall and statuesque, the alien woman moved with an elegance that seemed to defy gravity. Her skin glowed faintly, a soft blue bioluminescence that pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. Her armor was sleek, almost organic, molded to her frame yet bristling with deadly efficiency. She stopped a few paces away, her piercing violet eyes locking onto Ren's visor. She wasn't armed, at least not visibly, but the aura she carried was unmistakable. This was no mere wanderer. Ren raised his rifle. "Who the hell are you?" The alien tilted her head, studying him like a predator sizing up prey. Then she smiled, a small, knowing curve of her lips that sent a chill down Ren's spine. "Your reflexes are sharp," she said, her voice rich and smooth. "And your aim is steady. Impressive, for a human." "I don't recall asking for compliments," Ren replied, keeping his rifle trained on her. "You're interfering with my hunt." Her smile widened. "Am I? Or are you interfering with mine?" Before Ren could respond, she raised a hand. Instantly, his rifle was yanked from his grip, flying through the air as if pulled by an invisible force. It hovered for a moment before clattering to the ground behind her. Ren's heart raced, but he didn't show it. "That's a neat trick. Want to tell me how you did it?" The alien woman stepped closer, her bioluminescent skin casting faint light on the rocky terrain. She was taller than he'd realized, towering over him by at least a head. Her gaze held his, unflinching. "I am Zyhara of the Valkyrian," she said, her tone carrying a weight of authority. "And I have been watching you, Captain Ren Terval." Ren's brow furrowed. "You know my name?" "I know more than your name," Zyhara replied. "I know your methods, your trophies, your victories. You are skilled, human. More skilled than most. But skill alone does not make one worthy." "Worthy of what?" Ren asked, his voice edged with suspicion. "Of legacy," she said simply. Ren's mind raced. The Valkyrian were little more than whispers among the galaxy's hunters, rumored to be a nomadic warrior race seeking out the strongest of all species. To meet one face-to-face was almost unheard of. "Is that why you're here?" he asked, his voice steady despite the tension in his chest. "To judge me?" Zyhara's smile returned, but this time it carried a hint of challenge. "No, Captain. I am here to see if you can survive." Before Rin could respond, a deafening roar shattered the air. The sculpt beast exploded from the shadows, its massive form barreling toward them with terrifying speed. Rin dove to the side, rolling to avoid the creature's claws. Zyhara didn't move. Instead, she stood her ground, her hands raised in a fluid motion. Twin energy blades ignited in her palms, their glow matching the hue of her skin. The sculpt beast lunged at her, its jagged maw snapping inches from her face. With a single, effortless motion, Zyhara sidestepped and slashed at its flank, her blades slicing through its armored hide like paper. Rin scrambled for his rifle, scooping it up just as the beast turned its attention to him. He fired off a round, the plasma bolt striking its shoulder. The sculpt beast roared, momentarily stunned. Zyhara's voice cut through the chaos. "Prove yourself, human. Let us see if your legend is earned." Adrenaline surged through Rin's veins. The hunt was no longer just a test of skill, it was a battle for survival. And Zyhara's eyes, bright with anticipation, told him one thing: she wasn't here to save him. She was here to see what he was truly made of. The sculpt beast's roar echoed through the canyon, a guttural, bone-rattling sound that seemed to taunt its would-be hunters. Rin's plasma rifle hummed as he primed it for another shot. The beast was circling now, its massive, sinewy form weaving through the jagged rocks like liquid shadow. Even with his visor recalibrated, the creature's outline flickered maddeningly, blending seamlessly into its surroundings. Zyhara, however, was unnervingly calm. She stood tall, her twin energy blades glowing faintly as if feeding off her own bioluminescence. Her violet eyes never left the shifting shadows where the sculpt beast prowled. "You're going to have to do more than shoot wildly," she said, her voice almost teasing. "A true hunter predicts their prey's movements." Rin wiped sweat from his brow, scowling. "And I suppose you have a better idea?" "I do," she replied, gesturing toward a holographic map that sprang to life from a small device on her wrist. The terrain of the canyon spread out before them, intricately detailed. A glowing red dot marked the sculpt beast's location, or rather, its last known location. "The sculpt beast hunts in patterns," Zyhara explained. "Its instincts are formidable, but predictable once you understand its habits. It will avoid open spaces and favor ambush points. Here." She pointed to a narrow ravine on the map. "We force it to retreat there, where its options will be limited." Rin raised an eyebrow. "And how do we do that?" "Ask politely?" Zyhara's lips twitched into a smirk. "We flush it out. You're the bait." "Figures," Rin muttered, shaking his head. But he couldn't deny that her plan had merit. He studied the map, noting the angles and choke points. "Fine. I'll draw it out. But if this thing kills me, you're paying for my funeral." Zyhara tilted her head. "I doubt you'll need one. You have potential, Rin Tervel. Now prove it." The chase begins. Rin moved swiftly through the canyon, his camouflage suit adjusting to the rocky terrain. Every step was measured, every sound muffled. He carried a small device, one of Zyhara's alien tools that emitted faint pulses of energy designed to irritate the sculpt beast's hypersensitive senses. It wasn't long before he heard the low, rumbling growl of the creature responding to the disturbance. Rin grinned to himself. "Come on, you ugly thing. Follow me." The growl turned into a roar, and the ground seemed to tremble beneath Rin's boots. He glanced back and caught a glimpse of the sculpt beast, its massive form emerging from the shadows, eyes glowing like molten embers. It moved faster than he'd anticipated, its powerful limbs propelling it forward in great, loping strides. "Zyhara, it's on me," he hissed into his comms. "Hope you're in position." Keep running, Zyhara's voice came through, calm and steady. Don't stop. Rin ducked under an overhang, his rifle slung over his shoulder as he scrambled up a narrow rock face. The sculpt beast barreled after him, its claws leaving deep gouges in the stone. Rin reached the top and bolted toward the ravine, adrenaline fueling his every move. He could hear the creature closing the distance. Its guttural breaths, the scrape of claws against rocket was right behind him. The ravine trap. Rin slid into the ravine, narrowly avoiding a swipe from the sculpt beast's massive claws. The creature roared in frustration, its bulk forcing it to slow down as it squeezed into the narrow passage. Rin turned, raising his rifle and firing a series of plasma bursts. The shot struck the beast's thick hide, searing the flesh, but doing little more than angering it further. "Any time now, Zyhara," he shouted into his comms. "Patience," she replied. "Let it come to me." Rin cursed under his breath, but kept retreating, leading the sculpt beast deeper into the ravine. The walls closed in around him, the space growing tighter with each step. He could see Zyhara ahead now, perched on a ledge above the ravine, her energy blades glinting in the dim light. As the sculpt beast lunged for Rin, Zyhara leaped from her vantage point, landing with feline grace on the creature's back. Her blades sank deep into its hide, eliciting a deafening roar of pain. The beast bucked wildly, thrashing in an attempt to dislodge her, but Zyhara held firm, her movements precise and controlled. "Now, Rin," she called out. "Aim for the underside of its jaw. It's the only weak spot." Rin didn't hesitate. He dropped to one knee, steadying his rifle as the sculpt beast reared up, exposing its vulnerable throat. He fired a single, concentrated plasma bolt. The shot hit its mark, punching through the beast's tough hide and into its vital organs. The sculpt beast let out a final, strangled roar before collapsing to the ground with a heavy thud. Zyhara leapt clear, landing gracefully beside Rin as the dust settled. A hunter's respect. Rin stood over the sculpt beast's massive form, his chest heaving. The beast was truly a marvel of nature, an apex predator brought low by skill and precision. He glanced at Zyhara, who was calmly cleaning her energy blades with a small cloth. "Not bad for bait," she said, a teasing glint in her eyes. Rin chuckled, shaking his head. "Not bad for a Valkyrian. Though you could have warned me about the whole jump on its back thing." She sheathed her blades, her expression softening. "You did well, Rin Tervel. Few hunters would have kept their composure in the face of such a creature." Rin shrugged, trying to downplay her praise. "Just another day at the office." Zyhara stepped closer, her violet eyes locking onto his. "No, it's not. You are not like the others, human. You think, adapt, and act with purpose. That is why I sought you out." Rin raised an eyebrow. "Sought me out? You mean this wasn't just a coincidence?" Zyhara smiled. "No. This was a test. And you passed." The sculpt beast was only the beginning. Rin frowned. "The beginning of what?" "The hunt," she said simply, her tone laced with both admiration and challenge. "And now, we prepare for the next one." The Valkyrian starship was unlike anything Rin Tervel had ever seen. Its sleek, organic design seemed to pulse with life, as if the vessel were a living organism rather than mere metal and circuits. Bioluminescent veins coursed through its walls, casting a soft, otherworldly glow that illuminated the halls. The air inside felt charged, as if infused with latent energy. Rin walked cautiously beside Zyhara, his senses on high alert. "You don't need to keep looking over your shoulder," Zyhara said, her tone laced with amusement. "You're safer here than you've ever been." "That's what you think," Rin muttered, his hand still hovering near his holstered sidearm. "Forgive me if I'm not used to being abducted by glowing aliens." Zyhara chuckled, a deep, resonant sound that made Rin feel both irritated and intrigued. "You're not a prisoner, Rin Tervel. You're a guest. And soon, you may be much more. The corridors opened into a grand chamber, vast and cathedral-like. The walls were lined with shimmering, crystalline structures, each glowing faintly with a different hue. Rin stepped closer to one, studying its intricate, web-like patterns. The crystals seemed to hum faintly, resonating with his movements. "What is this place?" he asked. Zyhara approached one of the larger crystals, her violet eyes glowing faintly in the chamber's light. "This is our legacy vault. It contains the genetic essence of the greatest hunters from across the galaxy, Valkyrian and otherwise. Each crystal represents a life, a legacy, a contribution to the future." Rin frowned. "You're saying these are people?" "Not people, exactly," Zyhara replied. "These are their essence's genetic blueprints preserved for eternity. We used them to create the next generation of hunters, combining the strengths of the best to ensure our survival." "And you want me in here?" Rin gestured at the glowing crystals, his tone a mix of disbelief and suspicion. Zyhara turned to face him fully, her expression serious. "Yes. You've proven yourself worthy. Your skill, your cunning, your instincts, they are rare, even among the Valkyrian. We believe in more than strength, we value ingenuity, adaptability, and determination. You embody all these qualities." Rin crossed his arms, his mind racing. "And what exactly does preserving my essence involve? Because if this is some weird alien science experiment, it's not," Zyhara interrupted, a flicker of irritation crossing her face. "Our process is symbiotic. We don't take, we merge. Our children are born from the combined genetic legacy of two great hunters, their abilities enhanced by our technology." Rin blinked. "Wait. Are you saying yes?" Zyhara said, her voice calm but firm. "You would become my mate." A hunter's choice, the words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Rin took a step back, his mind reeling. "Mate? You mean yes," Zyhara said again, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "But not in the way you're thinking. This is not about romance or sentimentality. This is about survival, legacy, and ensuring the future of the hunt." Rin laughed nervously, rubbing the back of his neck. "Well, that's flattering, I guess. But I don't exactly see myself settling down and raising alien superkids." Zyhara tilted her head, studying him with the same intensity she had during the hunt. "You misunderstand. This is not about raising children. It is about contributing to something greater than yourself. Our offspring are born with the best traits of their progenitors, trained from birth to be hunters. They carry the strength of their lineage forward." Rin sighed, pacing the chamber. "Look, I get it. You think I'm special. But this is a lot to take in. I've spent my whole life chasing the next big hunt, the next challenge. This legacy thing? It's not exactly my style." Zyhara stepped closer, her presence commanding but not threatening. "And what has that life given you, Rin Tervel? Glory? Wealth? A reputation that will fade with time?" Her voice softened. "You hunt because it is your nature. But what if your skills could serve a purpose beyond yourself? What if you could create something that endures?" Rin stopped pacing, her words hitting deeper than he wanted to admit. He thought of the countless hunts, the fleeting thrill of victory, and the emptiness that always followed. For years, he'd told himself it was enough. But now, faced with the possibility of leaving a lasting mark, he wasn't so sure. A moment of doubt. "I don't know," Rin admitted, his voice low. "This isn't exactly what I signed up for." Zyhara nodded, her expression unreadable. "I understand. The choice is not one to be made lightly. That is why I am giving you time to decide." "How much time?" Rin asked, a trace of humor returning to his voice. "You Valkyrians seem like the no-nonsense type." Zyhara allowed herself a small smile. "We will reach Valkyros, our homeworld, in 3 cycles. There, the Legacy Council will formally recognize your achievements. Until then, you are free to explore the ship, ask questions, and learn what it means to join us. Rin hesitated, his instincts warring with his curiosity. Finally, he nodded. All right. 3 cycles. But no promises. Zyhara extended her hand, her gaze unwavering. That is all I ask. Rin shook her hand, her grip firm and warm. As their hands parted, he felt a strange mix of anticipation and unease. He had faced countless predators and survived unimaginable dangers, but this was a challenge he couldn't shoot or outwit. For the first time in his life, Rin Terval wasn't sure if he wanted to be the hunter or the hunted. The journey ahead. As Zyhara led him out of the legacy vault, Rin couldn't help but glance back at the glowing crystals. Each one represented a life, a legacy, a story of triumph and sacrifice. He wondered what his own essence would look like, trapped in a shard of living crystal for future generations to study and revere. The thought was both exhilarating and terrifying. You're quiet, Zyhara observed as they walked. Just thinking, Rin replied. About what this all means. You'll find your answer, Zyhara said confidently. You are a hunter. It is in your nature to find what you seek. Rin wasn't so sure. But as he stared out of the viewport, watching the stars blur into streaks of light, he realized one thing: whatever lay ahead, it was going to be one hell of a hunt. The Valkyrian homeworld, Valkyros, was a marvel beyond Rin Terval's wildest imagination. From the viewport of Zyhara's ship, he saw a planet that seemed alive with motion and energy. Towering spires of organic architecture pierced the clouds, their surfaces glowing faintly with bioluminescent veins similar to those in the starship. Vast jungles sprawled across the planet's surface, interrupted by jagged mountains and crystalline lakes that reflected the twin suns. Above it all, Valkyros' skies were filled with ships like Zyhara's, their sleek forms darting through the atmosphere like predatory birds. As they descended, Rin could feel the energy of the place, a primal force that resonated with every fiber of his being. For the first time in years, he felt a twinge of nervousness, not from fear, but from anticipation. Welcome to Valkyros, Zyhara said, standing beside him. The heart of the hunt. Rin nodded, his eyes glued to the planet below. Looks intense. Zyhara smirked. It is. And so are its people. The ship landed smoothly on a platform suspended high above the jungle canopy. As the ramp lowered, Rin was greeted by the sight of Valkyrians, dozens of them gathered to see him. They were tall and imposing, their glowing skin and piercing eyes radiating strength and pride. Many carried weapons slung over their backs, while others held staves or wore intricate armor adorned with symbols Rin couldn't decipher. The crowd parted as an elder Valkyrian approached, her presence commanding. Her skin shimmered with a silvery hue, and she carried a staff tipped with a crystal that pulsed faintly with light. This is Elder Maraza, Zyhara said, inclining her head in respect. She leads the Legacy Council. Maraza steadied Rin, her eyes narrowing slightly. So, this is the human hunter Zyhara speaks of. I expected someone taller. Rin couldn't help but grin. I hear that a lot. The elder's lips quirked in what might have been amusement before she gestured for him to follow. Come. The council awaits. The Legacy Council. The council chamber was carved into the side of a mountain, its walls lined with massive crystals similar to those in the Legacy Vault. The air inside was thick with a sense of history, as if the very stones remembered the countless hunters who had stood in this place before. The council itself consisted of 5 elders, each seated in a semicircle around a central platform. Maraza took her place at the center, gesturing for Rin and Zyhara to step forward. Zyhara claims you are worthy of joining our legacy, Maraza began, her voice resonating through the chamber. She speaks of your skill, your courage, and your ability to adapt. But words alone are not enough. Here, on Valkeros, we require proof. Rin tensed. I thought taking down that skull beast was proof enough. It was impressive, Maraza acknowledged. But that was one hunt. The test of a true hunter is not in a single victory, but in their ability to rise to any challenge. What kind of challenge? Rin asked warily. Maraza gestured to the chamber's far wall, which shimmered before splitting open to reveal a vast arena below. The arena floor was a maze of jagged rocks, shifting platforms, and pits that glowed with molten energy. Several Valkyrians stood ready at its edges, each armed and armored. You will face our hunters, Maraza said. Not to the death, but to submission. Show us your skill, your wit, and your resilience. Rin glanced at Zaihara, who gave him a small nod. No pressure, right? He muttered. You'll do fine, Zaihara said, her tone light but her eyes serious. Just remember what I said, predict your prey's movements. Use their strengths against them. Trial by combat. Rin stepped into the arena, the cheers of the gathered Valkyrians echoing around him. His opponent's 3 Valkyrian warriors entered from the opposite side, their weapons gleaming in the sunlight. They moved with the fluidity of predators, their every step deliberate. The signal to begin came in the form of a piercing chime, and the first warrior lunged. Rin ducked under the swing of an energy blade, rolling to the side and firing his plasma pistol. The shot was precise, aimed at the warrior's exposed flank, but the Valkyrian twisted mid-air, avoiding the hit. They're fast, Rin thought. Too fast for direct combat. He retreated, his mind racing. The second warrior advanced, using a staff-like weapon to sweep at Rin's legs. Rin leapt onto a raised platform, narrowly avoiding the attack. As the third warrior closed in, he noticed something. The Valkyrians were coordinated, but their movements followed a pattern. They relied on overwhelming their opponent with speed and teamwork, but they weren't adapting to him yet. Taking a deep breath, Rin activated a small device on his wrist, one of the tools Zaihara had given him. It emitted a burst of light and sound, temporarily disorienting his attackers. Using the distraction, Rin vaulted over one warrior, delivering a precise strike with the butt of his pistol to the back of their head. The Valkyrian staggered but didn't fall, their resilience impressive. Not bad, Rin muttered, rolling away as the others recovered. But I've got more. He lured the remaining warriors toward a narrow section of the arena, where their numbers worked against them. Using his environment, he triggered a shifting platform to trap one warrior in a pit and outmaneuvered the second by baiting an overcommitment. A well-placed shot from his plasma pistol sent the warrior's weapon skidding across the ground. The crowd roared as Rin stood, panting but victorious. The final warrior dropped their weapon and raised their hands in submission. A new legacy. Back in the council chamber, Maraza steadied Rin with a mix of approval and intrigue. You have proven yourself, human. Not just as a hunter, but as one who understands the balance of strength and strategy. Zaihara stepped forward, her expression triumphant. Does this mean he is accepted? Yes, Maraza said, her voice firm. Rin Tervel, your essence shall join our legacy. If you choose. All eyes turned to Rin. He hesitated, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. But as he looked at Zaihara, he saw not just admiration, but something deeper, a respect that few had ever shown him. I'll do it, Rin said finally. On one condition. Maraza raised an eyebrow. And what is that? I'm not just donating my DNA to a vault, Rin said. If I'm part of this legacy, I want to see it through. I want to be part of the hunt. Zaihara smiled, her eyes gleaming with approval. Then it settled. The chamber erupted in cheers as Rin stepped forward, placing his hand on the crystalline pedestal at the center of the room. Light surged around him, and he felt a strange warmth coursing through his body. For the first time, he felt truly connected to something greater than himself. As the ceremony concluded, Zaihara leaned in close. You've made the right choice, Rin Tervel. Together, We will shape the next generation of hunters." Rin grinned, a familiar spark of excitement returning. "Let's just hope they're ready for me." Epilogue. As the stars shimmered above Valkeros, Rin stood on the balcony of Zyhara's ship, gazing out at the vast jungle below. The hunt was never truly over, but for the first time in his life, he wasn't chasing something fleeting. He was part of a legacy now, one that would endure long after he was gone. And that was a hunt worth pursuing.